Welcome back. More votes are upcoming from the State Budget Committee after their first action this past week, including stripping hundreds of provisions from Governor Evers' budget proposal.
One of those some may not be aware of. It dates back more than 20 years when lawmakers created the Wisconsin Artistic Endowment Foundation. It was signed into law by Governor McCallum.
But it never received state funding. Now a new coalition is looking to change that for the long term.
A fixture along downtown's Main Street in the city by the lake,
RAM is the platform for our nationally significant contemporary craft collection.
the Racine Art Museum is a world-renowned facility.
And we now have the largest contemporary craft collection of any art museum in America. So it's quite a draw for people that are interested in ceramics and textiles and handmade furniture and artist-made jewelry and so forth.
Bruce Pepich is the museum's executive director and curator.
Art museums, art galleries, concert halls, performing arts, we're talking about historic sites, public gardens, anything that produces sort of a cultural effect, educational functions that brings people together to learn about each other more and to learn about our various heritages and backgrounds.
After an arts career spanning half a century, Pepich says he sees firsthand the economic impact the arts have on communities statewide.
The size of our budget is $2 million. They tell us we bring so many people in from outside Racine that we generate a $5 to $6 million positive financial spin-off in the local economy each year. All of the arts do this. People who travel to see theater, who travel to see museum exhibitions, who travel to see ballet or music performances, they spend more money during their visit than the average traveler.
This is not just in kind of the bigger metropolitan areas across the state, but even smaller communities.
You can do this even in a rural area, because you can go in a rural area and live there as a person who's working remotely, but those people still want their children to have those kinds of cultural experiences. That's what we can offer in the state.
Jason Anderson is the executive director of the Pablo Center at the Confluence in Eau Claire.
It's very clear to us that the creative economy, that idea of tying innovation and imagination together, is really something that communities can prosper from when you focus on it.
Pepich and Anderson are part of the newly formed Wisconsin Creative Economy Coalition, which includes more than 100 organizations and economic development agencies, small and large, from every corner of the state. The coalition is pushing for a one-time $100 million infusion to fund the foundation after its creation more than 20 years ago. Governor Evers included it as part of his budget proposal, but this past week it was one of more than 500 provisions the Republican-controlled Budget Committee stripped away.
The $100 million is the starting point, and we look at that as endowed seed money where the interest coming off of that would funnel to all of the creative organizations and cultural organizations throughout the state to help move us forward, to help ensure that the citizens have greater access to be inspired, to dream large, and to go out and create things we've never seen before or that only inspire others.
Knowing a funding solution is needed but may not come quick, the coalition is now working with a group of state lawmakers, both Democrat and Republican, to still find a way in the state budget or as standalone legislation.
It will provide a steady stream of income that the Wisconsin Arts Board and the foundation can give to Wisconsin cultural organizations to help cover things like staff salaries, the electric bills, utility costs, things that aren't very appealing to donors to put their name on. Nobody wants to fund the John and Mary Jones electric bill fund. We're looking for that kind of everyday regular support.
How do you tell them, how do you convince them that this is important?
I would say to the legislature is if you're looking to retain talent for business for the next 2 generations, and also trying to bring people to move here as talent for future job growth, we're going to have our lunch eaten by our neighboring states because they're putting more effort behind this.
According to the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, Wisconsin ranks last nationwide in funding state arts organizations, 14 cents per capita compared to more than $7 in Minnesota, 32 cents in Iowa, and more than $1 in Michigan.
It's a pretty interesting juxtaposition there. You said the most art entities per capita in the nation of Wisconsin, yet we're still 50th per capita when it comes to state funding.
I don't like being last in anything, and I have great pride in this state, and I want to see us crank it up a few notches and finally come to compete.
What happens if this goes nowhere?
If this goes nowhere, then we've started the conversation. And it means that, will it take us longer to get to the outcome? Absolutely. It's a fight that we've already been fighting, right? But it's about having that conversation that the creative economy should not be a partisan conversation. It impacts both sides of the aisle equally because it impacts every citizen. And when we innovate, when we imagine, we create stuff. And when we create stuff, we drive democracy forward.
If we were a corporation and we were bringing a factory that was going to employ almost 90,000 people, the state would be throwing all kinds of money our way. We're doing this, but we just haven't added the numbers up and presented those numbers to the public.
So with funding not looking likely in this budget, the goal, members say, is long-term, as they mentioned, continuing to educate and raise awareness among the public and, of course, lawmakers.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, taking on social media giants, a Wisconsin lawmaker proposing new legislation including curfews and crackdowns. He's standing by next.